we're closing out the day with, in my opinion, very interesting and maybe the most influential topic to talk about today, being accompanied by superstars who have been doing massive achievements in the region and presenting, very well presenting the women in the space industry and leadership. So the objective of today is to address the topic from different angles. So today we have the entrepreneurial phase of women in the industry. We have the C-level and high-profile mega companies presentation, and we have the government and NGOs presentation, and also we have the technical powerhouse presentation. So ladies, I will ask you to start by quick introduction of yourself and your entity that you're representing, so the audience is aware of you. Starting with Julia, please.
My name is Julia Tarabalka. Good afternoon. I am very happy to be here. I represent Space 42, so a company in the United Arab Emirates, and I am Vice President of Geospatial Solution. So I've been working for over 20 years to develop solutions driven by AI and all STEM to process data. So we've heard a lot these days that keeping acquiring data, but we need to give to client insights, client needs. So that's actually my topic. So I'm leading teams to give best final results to client.
Thank you, Leah. Safinaz, please.
It's a pleasure and an honor to be here. My name is Safinaz Murshid. I'm the Chief of Staff at New Space Group. My background is strategy and transformation. I have worked in so many different sectors, and I had the privilege and the honor to also be working at Vision 2030 on 2 of the vision realization programs. And I've recently joined NSG New Space Group, which is the Saudi National Space Company, which is a very exciting post. Very pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much, Safinaz. Pleasure to have you. Lama, please.
Hi everyone. Thank you so much, and SATEXPO organizing for organizing this panel, and it's such an honor to be joined by inspiring women like yourself. I'm the founder and CEO of Blue Dot. I'm an analog astronaut and the vice chair of the International Astronautical Federation Subcommittee for the Middle East and Central Asia. I'm the owner of the International Astronautical Federation Award for the Emerging Science Leaders and a Forbes 30 under 30 in the category of science and technology.
Thank you so much, Laman. Crystal, please.
Hi, thank you, now. Thank you for having me. I'm very glad to be here today with everybody. I'm Christelle Astoglietti, and I am Space Counselor at the French Embassy in Abu Dhabi, and I'm also covering all the GCC region as a Space Counselor, and CNES, which is the name of the French Space Agency, CNES representative for this region. And I've been working at CNES for more than 25 years on Ariane project, big project, space project, but also IT project and HR. I have also created and founded an association last year, which name is Space Women Alliance, and which aims to make women in space sector more visible.
Thank you so much, Christelle. So I'd like to kick the panels, hopefully, starting with the challenges. So we're going to start with the one painful challenge that was very obvious throughout your journey and your way towards being influential, being in leadership. I would like you to share with the audience this one painful challenge that is so remarkable, and how did you approach that challenge? And I would love to start with Leah, coming as a tech powerhouse. I would really want to know the one painful challenge that you had to face.
So for me, the most painful challenge was definitely the challenge of combining leadership in tech industry, so being a very tech person already in the last maybe like 15 years. So I was leading a R&D group in France, now like it's Space 42, and combining this with my motherhood responsibilities and thriving at both. And I really want to bring this to attention because it's an important topic. So this industry, like we've heard today, it's industry which is advancing extremely fast, so you must really work long hours to catch up with this. It's industry requiring a lot of travels if you want to be in leadership position, a lot of networking, so you need to travel, and it's very often connected to defense, so it's not family friendly. So I was really asking myself questions several times, should I give up and focus on raising my child, or should I try to thrive in both? And I chose this last path, really to lead as example, so not only to do my career, but to show to my child how important it is to realize ambitions and dreams and to succeed, and also to be inspiration for other women. Because also I've been in several events where sometimes women do amazing career, but they forget actually that they also need to follow up with personal life. So I really invite all female to thrive in both, and it is possible, and it is actually complementary, because motherhood teaches to be very disciplined, very responsible, and it's very high qualities for leaders.
Thank you so much, Ria, for bringing that up. Usually women in the tech industry or in engineering or in STEM in general, they're seen as, if they are in a leadership position, they have to be those geeks who are just focused on work, obsessed with work, no personal life, and why you bring the example of the perfect balance if this is what you want to pursue as a woman. Thank you so much for highlighting this. And I want to move to Safinaz, because your journey when it comes to C-level in big profiles, huge projects, big companies, how was the journey for you in the sense that this remarkable challenge that maybe helped you even grow bigger?
Where do I start from and how much time do I have? Obviously, as a Saudi woman who was born and grew up in the region, it is not news to say that there were so many challenges that we had to face. Things 20 years ago were not obviously as they are now, so there were so many challenges, so many stereotypes that we had to fight our way through. I have to say that I'm very proud that I have climbed the ladder step by step, and I had to overcome so many obstacles. And it's not just on a local level, but on an international level as well. Saudi women were always looked at as oppressed, as lacking of opportunities. But of course, we had to work to prove the opposite. So it was not easy at all, but we were always driven by the passion, driven by our patriotism, believing in ourselves and our country. And I have to say that now Saudi Arabia, and especially the females of Saudi Arabia, are living the golden dream. And we of course owe this to the godfather of Vision 2030. The journey has not been easy, but it has been very rewarding, and we're continuing this journey every single day.
Would you consider the cultural understanding, or maybe the global perspective of, because the space industry is quite a global industry and you cannot really limit yourself to one local or one local market or one region. Do you think the outside perspective of Saudi women was the biggest challenge, or the actual subconscious fight between what you're really capable to do and how the community looks like? What was more of a challenge to that journey?
Having to prove yourself, be it on a local level or to the outside world, and sometimes to even yourself. And that's why I always say, don't let the narrative dictate you, you set your own narrative. And the biggest obstacle sometimes is believing in ourselves. And once you overcome that and learn how to deal with it and overcome it, endless opportunities will be presented to you and everything will be smoothed out. So key is to actually believe in yourself and always be driven with the passion. And one failure is only an opportunity for learning, and it will set you up to be better at the step that will come next.
Thank you so much. I think that's actually a very important point, which is maybe the acceptance of failure as a woman in engineering or in STEM in general. It's kind of, or in the space sector, it's kind of harder to accept, given that all eyes are on you, and as you said, you have to put yourself at all times. So with that being said, Lama, because you are here representing the entrepreneurial journey, and I know you have had quite the journey training as an astronaut and then starting your own business. How was that journey for you in a sense? What was the remarkable challenge that really you had to overcome to be where you are now?
challenge was definitely realizing that excellence alone is never enough. As a woman, you really have to exist loudly to just not be underestimated. You can be overqualified, but still, some people would make you feel like you're fit. So that's the biggest difficulty. And both, not only in the space sector, but also on a business scale. I always thought that the space sector was more, let's say, more male-dominated, and it's difficult to penetrate as females, but across different fields it's the same. So that's definitely the biggest challenge, but I've learned how to not seek the approval of others, but try to lead by impact.
Thank you so much. Yes, impact it is. And speaking of that, Crystal, you have been in the GCC region for some time, and being a government representative, being as active as I know you are, how was your, from observation and from actual practices that you have conducted across the region, how do you see the shift in the behavior regionally when it comes to including women in leadership, and not just like, in a nice training program or like this nice engineer over there, actually progressing and upgrading your contributions and being influential in leadership? How have you seen the journey, and where you see it heading? And also in perspective to, or compared to the global, because it's a global challenge, it's not just like it's a regional challenge, but you have been in the region enough to tell us, how was it?
Yes, I have to say that I have been totally impressed by the percentage of women in tech in Emirates and even in Saudi. Yes, it's more around 40%. And you have to know that in France, in particular, which country I really know very well, it's more about 20 or 15%. So I wanted to understand why. I can explain why it's the case now in France, because I think we have a lack of young engineers, and so we have 20%, and then they can't reach the leadership and the goal and the position they really want. So it's a question of figures. And here in Emirates, I wanted to better understand, and I think you spoke about patriotism, country, and I think perhaps there is a difference here, and because in France, we don't have to the young women, if they are not passionate, we don't push them, and they don't understand why they have to go in such technical position. So I think it's societal, and because yes, in France it's not so natural as it could be here. So it's completely, when I speak, when I explain that, even in France, they are very surprised for sure because of all what we have in mind. But I think we have a lot to learn here.
Thank you so much. I think, when it comes to the passion to come from within and the drive to actually keep going and overcome all the challenges, but what you said is really nice, but I really want to know also, with that shift that you're seeing here, are you seeing the growth as fast enough as to keep up with the global market and the presence of women in the global market, or do you see just it's a nice kind of thing to have in the region, it's motivating enough, but it has to stay in the region? Because you said, okay, maybe through your conversation, it could be influential sometimes, but do you see this happening and reflecting also in the industry and in the sector? I mean, this growth that you're seeing in the region, do you see it reflecting on the global industry?
I think the main issue is still the leadership and women at high position and at CEO. And it's the case in France that we are still struggling to put as much women as possible in such a position. We are even talking about quotas and so on. So I think a lot of things are done with some association to put there. But here, yes, we just can see that there are a lot of young engineers and of female representatives, but there is still, unfortunately, a lack of high director and high leadership women. So certainly it has something has still to be done here because it's not perfect. You're right.
There's definitely more work to do. Speaking of that work, Safinaz, your journey, because you're not just in C-level, also you are influential when it comes to the human resources and the capacity building. How do you see Saudi progressing in the sense of not just having those key highlights, that's nice story to tell in such events, but also to maintain this growth and reach to the target where we're actually utilizing our resources? How is Saudi doing this, and if it's a model that you see successful, how do you see reflecting in the region in a sense of course empowerment, but first the capacity building part, which you are very aware of?
Maybe I should start by saying again the Vision 2030 and his Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. We owe him a lot of gratitude for actually making this possible with the government support. So empowering women was one of the key aspects of the Vision 2030, and having the job market open to all females and education and opportunities, something that was very limited in previous times. And I think we've all heard it yesterday in the Saudi American Business Forum when he was referring to the job unemployment rate and how it dropped down now with the women empowerment and having them as actively involved as possible in the job market. So we are lucky in Saudi Arabia to see that this is something in focus that is coming from the government, but also the private sector and the public sector could play a very important role in having it as one of the organizational KPIs to ensure that there is a good representation from both genders and different backgrounds in all aspects. And it's not just in the executive level or in the C-suite. You start somewhere. So even if you don't have someone who is a caliber to be an executive, you invest in the new generation, and you start by even addressing certain programs with the school. Like we lack career counseling in many of the schools in Saudi Arabia, and this is something that I encourage all companies. NSG is doing it, and I would love to see all other companies do it as well. Reach out to the school, explain what opportunities those students have. They are often at an age when they are uncertain what is it that they want to do, and if you present something that is very exciting and very progressing, I'm sure everybody will be taken that into account, and they will be presented with new things that maybe that were never really in their minds before. So you start with that.
Thank you so much for saying this, because it's personally affecting me a lot, because I have had a very close encounter with that, which I didn't want to share personal experience, but 5 years ago, because when I studied aerospace engineering, I remember I wanted it since I was in middle school. And I remember it was all because someone said aerospace. I loved space my whole life, and I love engineering, and someone said aerospace in front of me when I was in middle school, and stayed in my head till I actually pursued that career. And 5 years ago, I got a call that someone, what is that? I'm helping my sister study for the English exam, grade 9, and you are in the book. I was like, what do you mean? And then she says, like, I found out that someone saw an article on me somewhere, and in the Ministry of Education they decided to feature in the school book in grade 9, which is a very sensitive age. And then 5 years later, still in the books, and I get all those thousands of messages from schoolgirls telling me that they want to pursue this career just because they read this short story or this short biography in the book. So I never expected that I could be, influential in that sense, but just tiny mention of an example that can open your eyes to a horizon you never knew that you could pursue or reach. I totally agree with you. I think we should do more of that as a private sector. I think we should do it as individuals. We should really care about the next generation and give them more than we're just watching them. We should start opening their eyes, giving them the access to the stories and the influence that they deserve. And this, of course, is going to move us towards the capacity building, where people like you can actually start helping people grow and reach their potential. And speaking of potential, Lama, I want to ask you, because you are a Kuwaiti woman, you are working in the sensitive industry, you're a hijabi, you're starting your own business, you're young, you're active. All of this comes with the package of attention, and I want to know, when it comes to you, what is the type of support that you think is the most important for someone in your shoe in this entrepreneurial journey? And is it access to a role model, to mentorship, or the access to resources, the access to investment and actual decision making towards your business and taking you seriously? What do you think is the most that you need at this stage in life?
Definitely, I believe that women, let's say Middle Eastern women, young Middle Eastern women do not lack the ambition, they just lack the access. So what we need is a supportive ecosystem. What we need is mentorship from leaders that actually understand our context. We need proper educational resources, we need scholarships, let's say institutes that understand the value of investing in young women. We need visibility actually, and a platform that showcases what women who are already in the field are doing and how far they've came. I think only then we'll be seen less as an exception and more as a force. This is exactly what we need.
Totally agree. And from business perspectives, because I understand where you're at now, do you think, of course we understand the challenge, but do you think when it comes to decisions and investment, with regards to whatever valuation or whatever value that your business idea brings to the table, do you think this is being a woman and being from the region in the Middle East is coming in a way more of like, is it more than 50% empowerment or more than 50% as a challenge and cutting you have to make a decision. You have to
exactly.
have a very transparent answer.
So I would definitely say it's a challenge. It has never been easy. By the way, we are a fully female-founded company, and that makes us one of the very few space companies that are fully female-founded. It has been a challenge. We are an international team. We're very diverse, but of course, it came with its set of challenges. And convincing an investor to even look in our direction was very difficult, to prove that we actually have the technical capability, that we're not just entrepreneurs, we actually do have the engineering background. We started as engineers in the space industry, and then we moved forward towards becoming entrepreneurs. That was very difficult, let's say, to just convince investors to get on board. But I do see a change in that sense. Thankfully, I mean, touring around Silicon Valley, touring around areas where business is booming, I see that we became more of like, oh, that's this space company that's female-funded, and they aim to bring a value that isn't necessarily, because some would say, okay, space startup should be fully scientific, fully engineered, but women, I believe, from my perspective, see the value of accessibility, which is something that we promote in our platform and we promote in our startup. We just want to make space accessible. We really simplify the mission so that everyone understands it. So investors, not only in the space industry, but from different fields, are willing to invest in our company and see the value of that.
Speaking of accessibility, because now we're talking about access to space, all those nations to have more access to space, access to technology. But we're still struggling with access to visibility and access to inclusion. So, Yulia, again, coming from the technical background, because growing and being in leadership when it comes to the technical powerhouses also comes with its own challenges. So, do you think did you need to work harder than everyone around you when it comes to your technical capabilities? Because when we go to engineering school and other guys like it's usually harder for women to understand. It takes more for you to get the grades, or it takes more for you to get the degree. Do you think in the professional industry also it becomes more of a challenge to pursue in the technical field, or do you see there's change and there's more empowerment for the techie women that's really specialized in the field?
I agree with my colleagues here that so to enter a space field today is compared to maybe 20 years ago much simpler, right? So today just everyone should do his best or her best and work hard. But today to enter space field, it's not a problem. But then like when you go up, so you go to middle level leadership, this is still accessible, and then when you go to really executive leadership, so So then bias becomes stronger and stronger, and there is like Italian technicalism on that, because it's a lot about network, and like because historically, like currently a lot of male leaders are there, so they like attract other male leaders, like partly, right? So as Anna told, like female must really go to pitch stronger, to work much harder, to climb to this real leadership roles. And this will take like maybe generation to like progressively change it. I totally agree that we clearly see positive change in that, but we think that it will take time to really realize it. And then also what we talked about bias, I think we must start like changing, because Safinaz told that we must change in our like mind this bias, so we must start already from school. So we must really start from schools, encouraging learning like that today basically space industry is no more about some physical strengths or labor. It's about creativity, innovation. Absolutely every human is equal, can do it, and both male and female, they have this complementarity which brings even more talent. So programs, government programs and private sector programs must support it, and it will definitely bring its goods.
Absolutely, I agree. I mean, to end this bias at the early stage and like make it acceptable to be in school and say, I want to study space engineering, and everyone would be like, yeah, makes sense, like without, oh, what do you mean, why, who are you? We want to reach that stage where it's acceptable for women to be in STEM, and it's acceptable later in professional life to be the CTO or the CEO of the company, to be on board. So to get there, and Crystal, I want you to share with us the Space Women Alliance efforts to actually, kind of moderate this bias, and also I know you're doing a lot of effort to support women entrepreneurs in the space sector and their orientation to leadership positions. So what exactly are your current goals, and how do you see it influencing the regional progress?
Yes, absolutely. I agree that the issue is to convince the young women, but to do that, we need really more visible women, more women at CEO and executive position, and because then they will be invited in such a panel, the panel just before us, they were in the room. So the idea here is to put more women everywhere, and in order that they will be more visible, to inspire the young generation, because step after step it will be just normal. That's just what I want. So to do that, it's just a break. I think we can do a lot of things, but we propose 3 very concrete actions. The first one is to get a platform to put women in the space sector for companies who are looking for women, or just for looking for conferences and lecturer for all the events here in space. And we have created this association 6 months ago, and we have already a lot of demands for that. So it's fun. So it's the first action. The second action is about mentoring and mentorship. So we have created, it's the beginning, 15 young, not so young, because I agree, I think the men during career, I have a long one. Perhaps the beginning is not the biggest issue. It's more, after 2, 1, 3 children, like I have, you have 20 years in your career, and then there will be the famous glass ceiling, or for me it was more, I think, glass cage, and then you need a mentor. You need a mentor to say, okay, you can do that. You can work on your own marketing. You can your self-confidence. You need just to be reassured, and then to take the leadership, perhaps to quit the company, which was my case when I was so blocked. And it's positive after all. So it's a second thing. So to build some mentorship in each company will ask us. Today we are just organizing that among women in the world, in space. the third action, which is more a mindset than an action, is the society. The thing is to say, okay, we have to be, together against, not against, but just together for us. And we have to help each other and just don't think about the quality of the girl because she is a woman. You are a woman in the space sector. So you are great, you are perfect, and I will support you. And if every woman will say that and will support each woman, I think yes, we will have the greatest network in the world.
Yes. Yes.
I totally agree. I think it's very painful when you are working so hard and then you find that someone says, you know what, you're a woman and you're in the space sector, that's enough for me, I'll just support you for that, but I want you to look at my work, I want you to help me progress in the right direction, which is, inclusivity for the sake of the branding or the trends. It's inclusivity for the sake of the contribution, the actual contribution that a woman brings to the table of all the way from leading nations to, managing a household, preparing a meal. So this kind of contribution is not seen enough, and it requires more visibility. And speaking of visibility, something else, I want you to tell us how you think, private sector role in actually providing the visibility is crucial. Actually, maybe it's the only door that we have at this stage, because there are a lot of government initiatives and NGOs, but the real business happens within the private sector decisions. So how do you think empowering this visibility could happen, or private sector representatives who want to, be part of this mission for the sake of increasing the contribution and actually progressing as a business? How do you see the main function or the main job that the private sector can do to increase the visibility over the talented women?
There are so many strategies that the private sector can do, and maybe it's very important for me to reference here that you don't just focus on the technical part, because being in the space sector will also need experts in finance, experts in strategy, experts in HR, and all the other support services. I take myself here as an example. I am not a technical person, I am not from an engineering background, but I have collectively, over the years, had experiences in so many domains that can support the business. So we know that women are underrepresented in the space sector. There aren't enough aerospace engineers or astrophysicists and other technical areas, but there are still others who can contribute to the success of the space sector by providing the other support services. So this is a starting point for all the private sector, not to just be focused or use it as an excuse that there aren't enough women with such capabilities or such specialties that we can be including as part of the staff. Look at the wider picture and see how you can actually have more representation by women, even if they are in the other support services in the company. And of course, I have to talk about the mentorship, and I have to talk about, leading with example and building the awareness so that you can prep the next generations to fill in all these gaps. If we don't have enough women at the time being who can be on the technical side in the space economy or in the space sector, then we should start working on that so that we can have enough representation in the future. But you still start with whatever you have and you work your way through it.
Thank you so much. I actually never looked at it from that perspective, which is using that there is not enough women from technical backgrounds to actually represent as an excuse. That's a great point to add, because the talent and the contribution to the sector is so many functions that can be considered, and we definitely have the talent and have access to resources. So, because I want to give some time to questions if you have some interest from the audience, but I would like you, before we conclude the panel, I would like each one of you to share, speaking of the near future, being optimistic about what's coming next in our journeys. What's the one thing you hope or you expect, even if you're part of it, to see soon, where this lies in and your own progress becomes, I'm not going to say easy, it's never easy for anyone, women or men, but kind of acceptable and not as challenging as it is. What is the one thing you wish to see coming soon? this journey to go?
I don't only hope, I'm sure that the percentage of people in this industry will increase. I mean, we already see like this, all those initiatives and government initiatives, so they will definitely bring fruits. As I told, so historically, if you look history, like that industry was started, it was with a heavy industry, right, about building spacecraft, so it needs strengths. Now, we really move to creativity, innovation, and here definitely female bring like very important complementarity, and private companies and public sector already recognizes that. So you will see that like already I was happy to hear about those platforms. So now like actually thanks to connectedness, thanks to like internet, all those events, knowledge exchange, awareness becomes easy, right? So basically we can easier send our messages, and this will help women to change their mindset, right? And men also to change their mindset. So today, like to educate yourself, you don't maybe need even access, which was a bit harder like 100 years ago. So today, like everybody can study. So you'll see that will be this really progressive shift in STEM activities that will bring more women. And then, yeah, society will definitely benefit from that, because it's like, as they told, it's not like just the women or men, it's really collaborating together, like, because it's just mathematical, right? Like, if you give opportunity to both, they're like just twice more talents, and we need those talents. I mean, we have some critical needs to solve, like we talked about environment, so we need to bring more talents and more people who want to lead, let them lead, so we will really see this progressive shift. And when women will realize themselves and their ambitions, their passions, it's not only industry which is winning, but it's the society as whole. So basically, as whole, we will see the society progress in a better way to a happier society.
Hopefully, Safinaz, please.
I would love to see more awareness initiatives and more awareness programs for the new generation, to see how everyone can contribute to this progressive and futuristic sector. It should be starting from now. I know that this is something new and everyone is looking forward to, so I would love to see more initiatives in this regard. I want to see how we can prep the next generation to take these opportunities. And I want also for the ones who are currently on board in the sector to be offered as women opportunities for a work-life balance. We can't deny that we are all at the end of the day, we'll have our families, we have our children. So I would love for the ones who are on board to not be given a reason to quit or be given a reason to diminish their role because they have other responsibilities that they cannot fulfill. So I would like to see how we can equip the next future of generation and also help the ones that are currently on board to set a very good example for all the others that it is possible and it is not something that will be hindering you from doing all the other endless possibilities that women have.
Safinaz, again, you're hitting a very, hard nail, which is the actual understanding of women's responsibilities, and what you said, like not giving them excuse to quit, is quite, painful to hear, but it is the reality. We have seen so many stories on that, and I think the way through is having more voices like yours, addressing it and making it visible, because I think it's not visible in this place as a problem, and it's taken for granted. Thank you so much for saying that. Lama, what do you want to see coming next, Lama? Because you're in the middle of a lot of activities, and we really want to, see you shine and grow. So what do you want to see next?
So I definitely believe that women bring something new to the space industry, which is it's definitely the value of sustainability. It's not just scientific, like sustainability, cooperation, inclusivity, diversity. These are essential aspects that we tend to overlook just because we're in a scientific and technical field. Women bring a more human-centric and global perspective to that field. I expect to see a future where diversities lead these missions, big Martian missions, big lunar missions, and more, and expand beyond Earth's atmosphere, let's say. So I definitely believe that in the future we'll have more women leadership. I don't like the percentage of 1%, no more of that, so we'll definitely see more. And then we'll find bigger value on space missions. Then they will have a bigger impact on humanity, because we tend to cover cover all aspects instead of just the technical ones. And we know how to touch everyone's needs.
Thank you so much. Yes, the contribution the woman brings to the table when it comes to human-centered perspective. Crystal, what do you want to see next with all your efforts? What do you hope to see coming first?
I think everything has been said very well about commitment to sustainability and view of space, new project. I think yes, it's just absolutely evident that we need women in the space sector. I just wanted to add something. What I really want to see perhaps is on men's side. Perhaps this. I think the world of shame should change. So I think 10 years ago, it wasn't possible to have such a panel of women. Just say, okay, it's not normal what we are facing now. And now we can do that. And that's the first thing. And I hope that the next step is that, okay, every man in the space sector will just, ask himself, is it right? Is it just my organization, my panel, my event I am doing? And then I think it will be okay.
Thank you so much, Crystal. Thank you all, really inspiring ladies. It was a great kind of pleasure. It was inspiring to have you on stage and talk to all of you, and I know you all personally, and it's an honor to have you here. And speaking of that, actually, our audience is majority men. So we want to also thank you for, this is the biggest sign of change, for being here, for listening, for taking this seriously, the conversation. It says a lot about how we are progressing as a community, and it means a lot to us also at the recipient end. And we have maybe 3-4 minutes, but I would like to ask if you have, we already have a question. Can we get the mic here, please?
Everyone, I'm Stephanie from Aerospace Accelerator. First of all, thank you for such an insightful panel. Question to our speakers. I know Christelle and somebody just touched on that a little bit, but our audience is majority men. It's wonderful to have panels of women up there talking about the struggles, talking about what we can do to improve as a community, as a sector. But I would love for you to give, maybe in your opinion, what are some actionable takeaways that the men in this room can leave with to make sure that they are helping us and working alongside us to build a more inclusive sector moving forward. So what are some key takeaways and actions that they can leave this room with? We didn't build the system the way it is. We're at the forefront of changing it, making it more inclusive for ourselves, but they need to be right there alongside us fighting for that. So love to hear your thoughts on that.
Just the same, on my level, with my association, what I have to say is it's more than open to men, and we show some men at the board. We have 2 among 8, so 6 women, 2 men, and it's a first step. And my first members, the second one, because I was the first, the second member was my husband. So I think yes, it's it's a team thing, and we have to convince our lovers, our fans to be here with us. We need everybody just to stop that.
Just to complete, because I also like to talk about concrete actions. I really appreciate it. Christelle, I thought it's about 1, 2, 3. A huge amount of actions you can completely take. I'm working for over 20 years, and I was wondering, I was working so hard as engineer to improve the world, but people are still working 10 hours per day or 9 hours per day. So probably some company leaders would one day reduce the number of working hours, put in exchange to people real concrete objectives. If you structure a company, you put high expectations, high objectives, but you don't because today still I saw companies judge a person by number of hours she spent in the office. I'm sure that everybody knows what I'm talking about. So it should not be like that. Technologies are supposed to automatize things. So we are supposed to work less, and if you work less, like my colleagues told, so we will be able to have this balance, family and work. And something second, actually I want to bring to attention. So at those events like this one, so we started bringing students, but like there was a special week in the same room like months ago. I brought my 9-year-old son. He was extremely happy and like to participate. He brought many knowledge to his school to share. I would really encourage us all to do more such actions and to educate early. But because also what I want to say, I mean, like today even kids become smart, and everything is very fast. So there are all those today amazing events which go at such fast pace. Let's kind of make it a bit more like family friendly. Let's really move our kids, both females and males, to show them that it's cool, it's amazing. Basically, if you show at very early age that science and space is cool, I mean, female will just have it as a dream, right? Like drum and and we will follow that.
Yeah, I actually, Stefani, what you said, what the question is really critical, and I think the bottom line of it is a mess of what you all have shared already, is that if we were asking how the men can walk alongside us in this inclusivity mission, I think the first thing is understanding the special contribution of female in this sector and in leadership. It's a different type of contribution. So first we need to understand how unique this contribution is, and based on it design the KPIs, which will lead to understanding what's the effort needed. So we're KPIs oriented. You need to be KPIs oriented and efficient in your operations. You need to understand what are you expecting, and these expectations need to change from just the woman needs to be there, or maybe for visuals, or just for inclusivity reasons to put her on the table. We need to design this contribution expectations of the KPIs accordingly, right? Something else.
If I may add, we need to all, men or women, be outcome oriented. Don't focus on the process. Look at us as gender neutral. Don't look at a certain outcome or achievement. It's a contribution for a man or a woman. Maybe this is a very actionable item that is not so hard to do. So I think this is the start. This is how you can just look at every contribution and every value added, regardless of who it came from. We don't want to be looked at women as a brand or as a tool to be used, to gain certain publicity or gain certain, popularity. We want to be looked at gender neutral. It doesn't matter if this achievement came from a man or a woman.
No, I think it's a simple request. Just look at it gender neutral way and look at the outcomes and measure your expectations accordingly. Do you have any more questions? Because I think we are already over time. Okay. Thank you so much, all of you, our audience, for staying till the end and being such an attentive audience. And thank you all, my dear panelists, for being on the stage. And it was great to share the stage with you and hear about your stories and more to come. Thank you all so much. Please join me in a round of applause for our panelists.